Hey there, Verdict listeners. We have some extra special bonus content for you today. Senator Cruz and I recently sat down with Brandon Judd, a Border Patrol agent for 24 years now and the head of the Border Patrol Union. This guy knows exactly what's going on at the southern border right now. Unfortunately, our government doesn't want the rest of us to know what's going on at our southern border. Last year, 2 million illegal aliens were apprehended crossing that border illegally. Absolutely historic numbers. It is a national crisis that the establishment doesn't want you to know about. So Senator Cruz and I sat down with him. We got the inside story on what's really going on down there at the border. Make sure that you subscribe, ring that bell, like it. Go sign up for Verdict Plus on Locals. We're on Locals right now. Obviously, we're coming to you on YouTube, and you can always download the show at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Without further ado, here's Brandon Judd. All right, Brandon, you have been a Border Patrol officer for the last 22 years?
24.
24 years.
Yes.
And you are the president of the National Border Patrol Council.
I am.
Which is the union for Border Patrol agents.
That is the union.
And by the way, this podcast is a commonplace for union bosses.
That's right.
But union bosses who are defending America. I know Brandon well.
Yeah.
Well, we have been out on the border repeatedly, many times. We've been on midnight patrol together. We have, Brandon has introduced me to all of his union leadership, to agents up and down the southern border. I will tell you, and Brandon was out on one patrol where we were the Rio Grande Valley, and it's about 2 a.m, and they're busting into a stash house and pulling out some pretty sketchy guys. I mean, we're talking, big dudes covered with tats.
Not the Boy Scouts.
And all the Border Patrol agents keep calling to me, Senator, come look at this. And I'm going, okay, ixnay on the editor say, like.
Yeah, Senator, haven't seen him. Yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about. Just call me Bob.
I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the situation on the southern border right now is the worst it's been in at least 20 years, if not ever. And the reason I don't think it's an exaggeration is because those are not my words. Those are the words of Joe Biden's Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, caught on a hidden microphone. 2 million illegal aliens poured over the border those were just apprehensions last year.
Let me ask you, I've spent a lot of time with agents, and agents are frustrated because you can't do your jobs. You go and catch bad guys, you catch traffickers, and your political superiors turn around and let them go. Yeah. How is it that the agents don't say to hell with it and quit? I'm amazed that the entire force doesn't say, we're done.
There's an easier way to make a buck.
All right, so talk about that a little bit.
So if you look at the last year, we've lost more agents than what we've been able to hire. So we're not even hiring to keep up with attrition. We're already down 2,000 agents than what we're supposed to be at. And we continue to lose more simply because this administration shows every day that they do not value law enforcement. They don't value the American public. They value criminals.
What was the reaction among agents when Biden personally demonized the agents, when you had the image of the agent on horseback, that the press claimed he was whipping people, and those were his reins, not a whip? What was the reaction among agents when Biden's reaction was they're going to pay, targeting the Border Patrol agents?
You wonder why you put on a uniform. You wonder why you go out and patrol the border. And again, if it wasn't, I love my agents. I love them because they're still willing, even though they're being beaten down by the one person that is supposed to have their back more than anybody else, they're still willing to go out and do the job simply because they care. They care about this country. And for that reason, I'm so grateful for those agents that I get to go out and patrol the border with on a regular basis.
So tell folks about what it's like for someone being trafficked, what it's like for a child, a little boy, a little girl, a teenage woman who is being trafficked into this country. What is their life like?
If there's anything that breaks our hearts, it's to see what's happening to these vulnerable women and children. It's our policies that are allowing these cartels to go into these countries and advertise their services. If it wasn't for the policies here in the United States, these women and children would not be putting themselves in the hands of these criminal cartels. They are being abused every day. They're being physically abused, they're being sexually abused, and even at times they're being murdered. And that's what's happening to these people. And it's all based upon the policies that exist here in the United States. And what's crazy about that is Democrats claim that they care about people. Democrats say that, well, we want to ensure that the safety of people are met, yet it's the policies that they put in place that allows this to take place, and they're doing nothing about it.
You know, I read a shocking statistic some years ago in the Huffington Post. This was a left-wing outlet. It was a statistic came from Fusion and Amnesty International, said that 60 to 80% of women and girls who are brought across that border illegally are raped or sexually assaulted along the way. And I thought, that sounds like a right-wing anti-immigration scare statistic. That was coming from the left.
It is, and they know it. They know what's taking place, and they know that they don't have to pass this problem on to the American taxpayer. They know that this problem can be solved with the resources that we have right now. We don't need more infrastructure. We don't need more technology. We don't even need more agents. What we need is we need policy. And by the way, that doesn't cost you a penny, not one penny. We can fix this problem through policy, yet this administration won't do it.
So 2 years ago, the year 2020 rather, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. That's what you're talking about when you say policy can fix that.
Yes.
So what was different in 2020 versus 2022? What are we doing differently from going from the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years to the highest rate in 61 years? That's a big difference. What changed to cause this crisis?
It's what's dubbed as the catch and release program. So when you reward people for violating the law, crime is always based upon risk reward. If the reward is greater than the risk, you're going to have crime. It's going to continue. And so when these people cross the border illegally, they know that they're going to be released into the United States. And when they're released into the United States, and you know this better than anybody, when they're released into the United States, they're never leaving. We release them with a de facto legal status to be here. With that, they can go get driver's licenses. They can get work permits. They can put their children in school. They get all of the benefits.
In New York City, they can vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Exactly. They get all of the benefits that somebody that is here legally will get. And so we're rewarding them for violating the laws. That's the policy we're releasing them. President Trump, let's be clear. President Trump, he struggled with this issue as well. He tried to work with Congress in 2019. Congress wouldn't work with him. And so our numbers rose exponentially in 2019. But he worked with people like yourself. He got with you. He spoke with you to discuss what needs to be done. I spoke with him at length, and he implemented a program that was a game changer. The migrant protection protocols. People had to wait in Mexico.
So that's the Remain in Mexico.
Remain in Mexico. They had to wait in Mexico pending their asylum or deportation proceedings. And what that did was that caused people to stop coming, because you're not going to give criminal cartels thousands of your dollars if you're going to be sent back to your country. You're going to give it to them if you're going to be released into the United States. So he did that, and it was like a light switch. Within 2 weeks, our numbers dropped to historic lows. And this president could do the exact same thing.
Well, and the policy was simple enough. We were told by the proponents of illegal immigration that these people are fleeing political persecution. They're just trying to get to safety. It's not about economic migration. It's all about safety. Well, if that's the case, then if you're fleeing from Guatemala or El Salvador or Honduras, why do you need to go all the way up to the United States? There are some countries in the middle there if this is really just about safety.
Well, and that's one of the things. Our immigration system is broken. It's absolutely broken. Our laws are such that you have to come to the United States and claim asylum here. But like what you said, is if this was truly solely about safety, why aren't they claiming asylum in Mexico?
Right.
Why aren't they claiming asylum in the first country that they come to that might be safe? Why aren't they going to Canada?
Right.
Why aren't they going to Canada and claiming asylum in Canada?
Well, and Brandon, of course, because of the Remain in Mexico policy, when the numbers plummeted, that meant there were a lot fewer children being physically assaulted, a lot fewer children. You're talking 4-, 5-, 6-year-old boys and girls being sexually assaulted. There are a lot fewer women being raped and by the cartels. But it's worth noting now, under Joe Biden, you've 2 million people coming here illegally, many of them children, many of them teenagers. When they get here, they often still owe the cartels thousands of dollars.
They do.
And so, it's interesting, as a Texan, Texas deals with this front and center. We see the traffic, but every community in America is a border community because the Biden administration is flying illegal immigrants to every city across the country. And the people that show up there, if you're a 15-year-old guy, you're a teenager, and you owe the cartel a couple $1,000s, what do you have to do if you arrive in Philadelphia, you arrive in Boston, you arrive in San Francisco, and you owe the cartel several $1,000s?
If you're a young girl, you're going into the sex trade. That's what's happening. You're going into indentured servitude. If you're a young man, you're going into the sweatshops that exist. It's scary to think that here in the United States, the best country in the world, we still have indentured servitude that is taking place today. And that's what's happening. Look, I make a good living. I make a very good living. I can't complain about the living that I make, but I don't have $50,000 laying around to give to a cartel to smuggle me to another country. And that's what these people from China are paying. They're paying anywhere between $35,000 to $50,000 per person to make it to the United States. They don't have that money. So when they get here, they're going to New York, they're going into sweatshops, they're going into the sex trade, and that's what's happening to those individuals. And that's sad. It breaks every single one of our hearts to see this taking place and to know again that it's driven by policy. I look at going back the first 3 months of this administration, we were frustrated. 6 months into it, we were angry. Now we're broken. That's how we feel. They're selling our country down the road for their own political gain. That's what they're doing. All they care about is their next election, and they know that what votes in the primaries are these far left individuals, and so they're willing to completely and totally throw our country aside and what's best for United States citizens for the vote. And anytime you get that in, with politicians, that's when you know that things are going in the wrong direction.
The part that doesn't make sense to me, though, I obviously agree with all of that, but the part that doesn't make sense is that immigration may be the single clearest issue where there is a chasm, a massive disparity between public opinion and the opinion of Democrats and a handful of elite Republicans. It's huge. The vast majority of Americans certainly want to drastically reduce illegal immigration. A lot of them want to drastically reduce legal immigration, too. This is a huge gap here. So just as a matter of pure electoral politics, why do the Democrats keep doing this when it's so unpopular with voters?
Because it's all about the primaries. You've got you can't get to a general election unless you win the primary. And so when you look at that, 76% of the American public support border security. 76%. But you still got 24% that don't, and that 24%
is 100% of the Democratic primary.
And that's the reason. So we're seeing that today. And I find that really interesting. And I know that you're frustrated about this, but you hear the liberal media constantly saying, well, Donald Trump has a stranglehold on the GOP. Well, look at what's happening with the Democrats. The far left liberals have a stranglehold on the Democratic Party. Look at the policies that you have proposed. Time and time again, those policies are for everybody. They're for whites, they're for blacks, they're for Hispanics, they're for everybody. They will ensure safety and security, and I'm not just talking about physical security, but I'm talking about economic security as well. Let's go with policy rather than who we like. So Joe Biden puts a smile on his face, says the right things, but behind the closed doors, he does the wrong things.
Well, and Brandon, I think you're right that if you look at the Democratic Party, one of the most surprising things to, I would say, casual observers of politics is how radically left Biden has been. Because the whole campaign, he said he was a moderate and a centrist, and I think what's driving it on this issue and everything else is it's the radical extreme that they've handed the policy agenda over to. So, you remember Bill Clinton, who said the era of big government is over, that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. There was a time when there were Democrats who tried to pivot to the middle, and that could be an effective electoral strategy. Clinton got elected twice doing that. Now, it is a primary dynamic where they are terrified of their left flank.
Yes.
And so the people they're listening to on immigration believe in open borders. The position they advocate is quite literally anybody who wants to come should be able to come and should be able to vote. New York City says if you're an illegal immigrant, you can vote right now. I mean, that's what the radicals want. But I want to focus on another piece of it, which is the rhetoric the Democrats use, they don't believe. So for 4 years during Trump, we heard over and over again, kids in cages, kids in cages.
Yes.
We talked about this with Russia.
Yes.
Kids in cages. You may remember Heidi and I and our girls, we were at an airport, LAX.
Yeah.
We got surrounded by left-wing activists chasing us to our gate, screaming at us and screaming, kids in cages, kids in cages. When I pointed out that Barack Obama built the cages, that made the activist even angrier. So right now, Joe Biden has the cages. They're bigger, they're more full. I've been to the cages. But I guess my question, Brandon, so we've had a year of the Biden cages. All the Democrats that were upset about kids in cages, have they come down to see the Biden cages?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was you that exposed it. It was you that went down to Donna and you got into that argument with that political appointee. It was great. You pulled out your phone. You were live streaming, showing everybody, just so that everybody knows these cages that Barack Obama built.
Yep.
These locations were meant for 150 people. You showed the American public a location that was meant for 150 people. There was over 1,000 children in that one cell.
Yep.
What does that-
one cell?
What does that tell you about the state of our corporate press, that the entire left-wing news media completely blacked this out? In order to see any images, you need a conservative U.S. senator with a cell phone to go down.
So
and
this political
broadcast it.
appointee, it was so classic. This political appointee tried to stand in front of him, tried to stand in front of the camera. So as he would move the camera, she would jump in front of the camera. He would move it this way, she would jump in front of it. She literally tried to block what he was taking as a U.S. senator. And again, all you wanted was for the American public to understand what was going on. That was it. That's all you wanted. You wanted transparency for the American public so that they would understand that the far left media, the mainstream media, wasn't telling the American public the whole truth. All I care about, I don't care if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. I just want you to have the truth. I want you to be able to formulate your opinions based upon all of the truth.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.